Here's my iPhone 17 Pro Max, and in this video, I'll walk you through 17 settings and tips that can seriously improve your iPhone photography and take it to the next level. Even if you're using an old iPhone, most of this will apply. Let's get to it. A RAW image is an original image captured from the sensor on iPhone with minimal to zero processing. And it gives you much more detail on an image and gives you more bandwidth when you later edit those photos. To enable ProRAW, go into the Settings app and then find the camera section, and in here, go to the Formats menu. Over here, you would see this option called ProRAW and Resolution Control. Just turn it on. As you can see, I've already got it turned on. And now when I go into the camera app, on the top left on this menu over here, you can pick between HEIC and RAW. I'll get into what HEIC is later, but if you have RAW selected, you will see the word RAW here, and then you can take your picture on the RAW format. And it's easy to swap back to HEIC if you want it for any reason. Do note that the RAW photos are much higher in file size due to the amount of detail that they contain, and only take RAW photos if you're going to edit them. If you know you're not going to edit them, the next tip will definitely help. Photographic styles are available on all iPhone models starting from the iPhone 16, even the non-Pro iPhones. These are not traditional filters that you get in various apps like Instagram, but your iPhone will adjust the tone and color on the image processing pipeline even before the photo is taken. So again, go to the Settings app and find the camera section. In here, the second setting that you will find are on photographic styles. So select photographic styles. As I swipe on these styles, you can see that the photos actually change based on the style you just picked. Just pick a template to start with. So I'm just going to go with Cool RAWs over here. Use Cool RAWs. Now when I'm in the camera app and I tap on this icon on the top right, you will see the styles option over here. And in here, you can swipe and find the style that you really like. I personally really like the amber style that I picked over here. When you pick a style that you like, you can also adjust the tone and color on this grid below. So have a play and find what you like. Just one thing to note is that if you're using photographic styles, you can only use that in the HEIC or in the JPEG format, not in RAW. So if I select RAW over here and then go into this menu, the styles option will be disabled. To get it back, I'll change the format back to HEIC, and then in here you will see the styles menu come up again. To bring up the styles picker again, you can also tap at the top right over here on this icon. That will bring the style picker and you can change your style as you wish. One added advantage is that even after you've taken your photo, you can go into an old photo and change the style. Again, this is not a filter, but Apple already has info on how this photo was taken, with what conditions, etc. So the whole image processing pipeline is tuned to your liking. The next setting I would like you to change is to enable the grid lines. So go into settings and then go into the camera section again. And then at the middle over here, you can see an option for grid. Turn it on. These grid lines will help you frame your shots when you take them. This can help you get your horizons in level and assist in getting your rule of thirds right. The next setting I want to show you is to enable the level. Again, go into the settings app. Right below the grid setting, you can find the level setting over here. Once you've enabled that, and now when you go back to the camera app, you will see the level indicator on the middle of the viewfinder. This will help you align your shots and ensure they are straight. This level will work both on portrait and landscape orientations, and even when you're trying to take top-down shots. This sounds like a basic function, but when your photos are leveled properly, it will make your photos look professional. The next setting I want to talk to you is about the macro control setting. Go into settings and then on the camera section, if you scroll down, you can find macro control. The ultra wide lens on your iPhone lets you take macro photos. When you get too close to a subject, the photo will auto switch to that lens and also turn on macro, which is good, but sometimes you might not want that, either as a creative choice or if you want to stick to the main lens as it is the better lens. Turning this settle on will give you a button on the camera UI to toggle macro mode on and off when shooting. The next setting I want to show you is view outside the frame. The iPhone camera user interface will show you content outside the frame to show what you can capture using another lens with a wider field of view. This is turned on by default and I like to keep it that way personally. But it can get distracting at times, and if it does that, you can always turn it off in settings. So go into settings, camera, and then turn off the toggle for view outside the frame. The main lens or the 1x lens gives you three different focal lengths. The default is the 1x at 24mm. You also get 1.2 at 28mm and 1.5 at 35mm. You can change this by simply tapping the 1x button on the lens selector. I like to use these to frame my shots, but if you don't like them, you can easily turn them off. Go to the camera settings and go into the Fusion camera section. Here you can turn off what you don't like and even change the default lens. I know a lot of people find this button to be useless, but for me it is one of my favorite iPhone features. When it first launched, it tried to do a lot of things and it was overwhelming. But with iOS 26, it's got so many new customization options. In the camera section of the settings app, it's at the top. And when you go in here, you will find a lot of customization options. These are all my settings which I've turned on. I've set it to open the camera in a single click, and it's been the fastest way to get to the camera. There are a lot of options here, and I suggest you figure it out yourself. On the control section over here, if you go into the customize menu, you can pick what you want to see when you press the camera control lightly. As you can see, I've already got cameras and styles here. I do not want to change the exposure, for example, using the camera control. So I've turned it off. Once you have configured the camera control to work the way you want and used it for a bit, trust me, you will find this button really useful. You can go to a lot of photography classes or spend hours trying to learn photography on YouTube. But if the lens on your iPhone are smudged, the photos are not going to come out as good. iOS 26 introduces another great feature to help with this. Make sure the lens cleaning hints are enabled at the bottom of the camera settings section, and it will tell you if your lens are dirty. That said, it is always good to clean your lens once in a while. Just have a microfiber or polishing cloth and give it a wipe before your photo shoots. Now that we are mostly done with camera related settings, let's switch to the camera app. On the camera app, you can adjust your exposure. Exposure is basically how dark or light your photo should look. Just tap on the viewfinder and you will get this box telling you where the camera is focusing. When you tap on different subjects, the camera will focus on that. But next to it, you will see the icon of a sun. You can adjust it by moving up or down and your photo will get lighter or darker. This is how you adjust exposure on the iPhone camera app. AE means auto exposure and AF means autofocus. You can tap and hold on the subject on your viewfinder, and when you do this, the iPhone will let you know that the AE and AF lock is on. When you see this indicator, it means that your iPhone has locked both focus and exposure. They won't automatically change if you move the camera or if the subject moves. So in this example, I'm focusing on this object over here, and as I move, the focus is still locked onto that. This can immensely help when you are moving around trying to frame your subject even between multiple shots. By default, the iPhone camera shoots at a 4:3 ratio. On the camera UI, you can easily change this to a 16:9 or a square ratio. You can either tap here on the top right on the 6 dots and then change the aspect ratio by just clicking on it. You can also bring up that menu by tapping on the word photo over here, and then in here you can change the aspect ratio again. By the way, I really like the iOS 26 camera app and I think everything just makes sense. But if you do want me to make a video explaining everything on the camera app, just drop a comment below and I will get to it soon. Sometimes it's worth using the timer, not just for group shots, but for the sharper photo overall. For instance, if you're setting your phone on a tripod and want to step back into the frame, a timer lets you do that easily. It's also handy in low light situations where even the slightest shake can blur your photo. By placing your phone on a tripod and setting a timer, you can take the shot without even touching the device. Again, on the photo menu, you can select the timer option and let the phone take the photo for you after a certain time. If you have an Apple Watch, you can also take a photo using the camera remote, which itself uses a timer. So don't rule off the timer option. Use it wisely, it definitely helps. This was a feature introduced with the iPhone 6s and I still find it very useful. This doesn't work with RAW images, but it does work with photographic styles. What it does is that this photo will save 1.5 seconds of footage before and after the shot is taken. So instead of a single frozen photo, you get a 3-second moving image with sound. The thing that most people do not know is that you can go into the Photos app and then later pick which moment of this 3-second moving image you want to keep. Go into the Photos app and pick your photo. Click on the edit button at the bottom and then go into live. In here, select the moment you want and make it that the key photo. Let's go back to the settings app and then the camera section, and in here let's go into preserve settings. What you find in here might sound simple, but it is one of the most advanced camera features that you can find, not just on the iPhone but in any camera. Every time you close the camera app, the settings are reset, but if you want to keep them, you can configure which settings to preserve. You get a lot of options here. I have a few of them turned on. For example, I've got photographic style turned on. So if I want to pick a style, let's say I pick the amber style, and I've taken my pictures, and then later when I go into the camera app again and go into styles, amber will already be selected for me. Experiment a bit and you will know what you use often, and I suggest turning the toggle here on so that the phone remembers your preferences and makes your life a bit easier. The next thing I want to talk to you is about formats. In this menu, you can configure what formats you want the photos you shoot to be in. In terms of camera capture, I have the default option here, but if you change it to most compatible, your phone will take pictures in JPEG instead of HEIC. If you're mostly in the Apple ecosystem like I am, just leave this at the default option. Plus, if you're sharing your photo with another platform, the iPhone will auto-convert it to a JPEG. And in the photo mode over here, you can pick between 12 and 24 megapixels. I've kept it at 24 because I get more detail out of my pictures, but then this means your photos will be higher in file size. If I go back and then go into the ProRAW format, you got 3 different options here. I've got it at JPEG XL lossy, which when compared to the other 2 formats here, it uses the least amount of space while still giving me the detail I want from a raw image. The thing about photography is that you have to get into the zone to take pictures. The iPhone here is a great device, but it does a lot of things. It's a rectangle of distractions. It's your gateway to the internet. It lets you play games and set alarms. And it's got a great camera too. Oh, and it's a phone too. So setting a focus mode just for photography can help you focus. Open the settings app and then go into focus. I don't want to go into detail on how to create a new focus mode, but again, let me know if you want me to make a video on that. Going back to photography, every time I know I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures, I just go into my control center and change my focus mode into photography. It disables almost all of my notifications, and this is how my home screen looks now. I'm not going to go into detail why I have it this way. I'll save that for the future video. But this is what makes sense for me. So these are the 17 settings and tips that can help you get better at iPhone photography. There's a lot more I wanted to talk about, like night mode, when to use the flash, video settings and other third-party apps and all of that. But I don't want this video to be too overwhelming. I'll save those for future videos. If you found this useful, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions, drop them below. I'll be happy to answer. I'll see you on the next one.